Hi class, this is Dr. Wilt. Today we're going to talk just briefly about business writing styles. And the reason why I want to talk about this is that you're probably starting to work, if you haven't already started, on your capstone. Your capstone is a professional business writing. And I want you to have a better idea about how we go about doing that because it's important because this is how you're going to be graded. So let's talk a little bit first about your agenda on this PowerPoint. We're going to talk about the writing styles, the pillars of writing styles using the 3x3 method. No, that's not meth. That should be method in, of course, the APA styles. Now, I'm going to whip through this kind of quickly. There's probably about 40 slides in here. I'm not going to go through each one of those, but I'm going to just hit the high spot. But I would encourage you to go back occasionally and look at this. Just put it on silent so you don't have to listen to me talk, and just kind of pause as you read some of these slides. I'm going to start off by telling you about the 5-word sentence. The sentence has 5 words. Here are 5 more words. 5-word sentences are fine, but several together become monotonous. Listen to what is happening. The writing is getting boring. The sound of it drones. It's like a stuck record. The ear demands some variety. Now listen. I vary the sentence length and I create music. Music. The writing sings. It has a pleasant rhythm, lilt, a harmony. I use short sentences, and I use sentences of medium length. Now, the reason why I went through that with you, class, is to show you that business writing needs a variety, just like any type of writing. It can have a 1-word sentence, a 2 or 3-word. It can have a 40-word. I wouldn't do 40. That's kind of ridiculous. But you have to have a variety. So don't have a bunch of 1 or 2-word sentences, just like you don't want a bunch of 30 or 40-word sentences, but put variety, because what it does is shows your passion, it shows your emotion, engages the audience. So as we talk about this today, let's go in there and talk about how bad writing can, first of all, really destroy you and your company. Matter of fact, what we know about bad writing is that we spend 25.5 hours a week reading someone else's work. And some of that work is so ineffective that it just flat irritates us as we're reading it. And look at some of the reasons on that number 3 down there. The third part says some of it's too long, those long papers, poorly organized and clear, filled with jargon and imprecise. So to get over that, we have what's called the pillars of writing style. So let's go through these very quickly. The first one is tone. Tone is basically how you're writing it to your audience. How you're going to recognize them. If you're going to be courteous, helpful, angry, annoyed. I hope you're not being that. But it's how you're going to focus in on your audience. And there's a few things. Always remember is when you're writing to be bias-free and to use sensitive language and to be conversational or professional. Now I'm saying or because it's very important. In business writing, you can be conversational or you can be professional, but don't be both in the same document. That doesn't make sense going back and forth. Typically in business writing, like your proposals, you're going to, or your capstone, you're writing a professional tone. Now, next thing is your clarity. Sentence length should be an average of, it says 20, I would say 15, 20 words per sentence. I've seen sentences before to go 40 or 50. It just goes on and on. Now, folks, let me tell you, back in the days I was in high school, they used to teach us, and I know this goes back a long time ago, but they always told us the period is your friend, but the comma is your enemy. There's a lot of truth in that. I've read sentences before that go on and on and on with multiple commas in there. I'm just like, no, please stop it. Put a period in there and start a new sentence. We don't need to have a 75-word sentence. So just like a 1-word sentence could be too many, but it still is effective, you want to have brief sentences that actually gets the point across. Of course, you can come back here and read about parallelism because that helps to cut down the length of your sentence. Clarity. Avoid those cliches, those trite generalizations. But the last thing, and of course, use very precise and concrete words. The last thing I want to talk to you here about is number 3. It says replaces $100 words with simple words. Now, let me give you a little story. Back when I was applying to UT for my PhD in the graduate school over in communications, we had to take what's called the GRE. The GRE is the Graduate Record Exam. In business, you take the GMAT, but in social sciences, we take the GRE. Now, the GRE had what's called the 300-word parade. And these were the 300 words they felt like we should all know and all be using. I've got the book here that I had to study. Now, I'll read you some of these words. nadir, nescient, natty, nebulous, neologism, nepophytes, nexus, and nase. Now, how many of those words do you use during your day or in your writings? Probably very few for me too. A few of them I would probably use, but the point is here is that don't try to use big words to impress people, because people will think, first of all, they're confused about the words, but they think you're trying to show off. So what you want to do is replace those $100 words with simple words. Okay, don't use those $100 words. You can use the $10 words, but typically you want to use simple words that are very clear and, like I always say, precise, concrete, that people don't feel like you're trying to show off, and certainly they don't want to go to a dictionary to figure out what you're trying to say. So just use simple, clear words. Now, next thing is make sure you're always writing in the active voice, because the problem is typically we will write in the passive voice and we slip back and forth between active and passive. The man was bitten by the dog bit the man. Now, I've seen this before where some people will go back and forth and becomes, after a while, very annoying. You're kind of like, why can't they stay in one voice or the other? Decisions, let's talk about this. These are things, the way you're writing statements, how you're communicating. And I like this last part here about the fillers. Avoid those fillers. Look at this. It is usually the case that she comes in early. I gotta say, she comes in early. I know it may sound very ornate and very flowery to say it usually is the case, but say that for when you write your novel. Don't use it in your business writing. Next thing is make sure you don't use redundant words all over again. Make sure you watch out for those prepositional phrases. And coherency, make sure you always write with a plan and that every paragraph has one main idea. Now, is one sentence a paragraph? No. One sentence is a statement. Is 2 sentences a paragraph? No. 3 sentences? Maybe. 4 sentences? Yes. The rule of thumb I always tell people is make sure you have 3 or 4 good, strong sentences in a paragraph. Anything less than that is not a paragraph. Likewise, a paragraph cannot go on for 12 pages. I've seen that before. I'm like, good Lord, folks, please split it up. Just kind of like I told you, the period is your friend, the comma is your enemy. A 5-page paragraph is your enemy. So you want to have one main point per paragraph and have multiple paragraphs in there. You can read about direct strategy on your own and parallelism. Let's talk about readabilities. It says here paragraphs are typically 8 lines long. It kind of depends upon the paper. But what you're looking at is how does that paper become very attractive to look at? One thing it says here is always left align with a ragged right margin. What that's saying is do not use where you have the right align, and certainly never use the left-right align. That's reserved for newsprint, for like magazines or for newspaper. You should have a left align and your right margin should be jagged in there. Center is okay for your headers or for quotes. Next thing is use your consistent font. We typically always say use Times Roman, Arial. You can use Gaudy, it doesn't matter, but don't use something silly like Wingding or Fajita. Make sure it's a very professional font. Make sure you use the right size, 11 or 12. 10.5 sometimes is okay. Anything above 12 is not right. Make sure your line spacing, 1, 1.5, 2. Now you can get to 1.15. And watch out for those page numbers. Word can be your worst enemy in the world because they seem to think they know what you want to do. That's why I've seen papers before where they end up with a page number that repeats itself. I've seen this before. Page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. It's kind of like Word got confused and thought you wanted multiple 5s. Learn how to get your page numbers in there. That means go into Word Help. Also, you never put a page number on your cover sheet, and you certainly would never put it on your table of contents. So this is a case where you have to figure out when to start your page number and how to use page breaks. Next thing, bullets are always good, numbers are good, headings are great, but don't overdo it. Just like don't overdo the bolding, the italicizing, the underlining. Make sure your capitalizations are correct. By the way, the word spring break, is that one word or is that 2 words? Do you capitalize spring or do you not? I'm not going to tell you. You just got to go look it up. But that's a good example where if you did it the wrong way, someone would certainly notice it. White space is very important. I actually had a lot of coursework when I was working my undergraduate in graphic arts. And white space is important. Just don't overdo it, but make sure that you have some white space in there. Now, the only thing here I want to talk about is grammar and contractions. Grammar, if you mess up your grammar, you look like an idiot. People look at you, they wonder, did you even go to school? So make sure your grammar is correct. We all mess around with grammar. There's things called Grammarly that you go, let them check your grammar, so watch that. But let's talk about contractions for a moment. It says it may be off limits for some instructors. For me, it is always off limits. And let me tell you another little brief story. My first job out of school, when I got my bachelor's degree, was working for a bank. I was a bank auditor. I remember reviewing some loans, writing if this loan would be okay or would not be okay. And I would say, this loan shouldn't be done. Unfortunately, one loan officer misread the word shouldn't and saw should and gave out the loan, and the loan defaulted, and I got in trouble because I should have used the word should not. Shouldn't, wouldn't, can't can be misread very, very easily. Should not, would not, cannot are not misread. So that's the reason why, maybe it's because I got in trouble, that I do not believe in contractions. And for me, in business writing, always be very, very clear, be concrete, be precise. I am, do not, should not, cannot, would not. I'm going to let you look at this, the 3x3 writing process, which is actually pre-writing, drafting, then going back and revising. Pre-writing is important because that's when you analyze your reader. Of course, to me, the most important part is the revising, because that's when you go back and you're going to really look at your audience and see what your audience needs and what your audience prefers. Now, let's talk for just a moment about APA styles. APA, what does it stand for? APA stands for the American Psychological Association. You probably back in high school wrote under MLA. I did too. MLA is the Modern Language Association. We write that way for the humanities like English, any type of rhetorical rhetoric. But APA is what we use for social science. Now, why did the American Psychological Association feel this great need to go in there and create this style? Well, they were trying to find a very uniform way that everybody did the same way, how they would put their figures or tables or charts, their diagrams, their photos, and how they would put citations inside of the paragraphs that you could read it, and how the reference sections are all the same. And in business, we follow the social sciences by using APA. Now, here you can take a look at this here. It talks about how you do citations, where you would use just the name, or where you use just the date or the name of the date. But the only thing I want to point out here is the very bottom, the direct quotes. Is anytime you have a direct quote, you have to put the page number, okay? If you paraphrase, do not put the page number. If you have a direct quote and you don't have a page number in there, guess what? You're plagiarizing, because a direct quote has to have a page number. A paraphrase does not have it. Of course, direct quotes should be limited. I've seen papers before that are nothing but quote after quote after quote. Honestly, folks, people want to read your summary the way you paraphrase it. So direct quotes should always be limited. AL is the Purdue Writing Lab, Purdue University. You can see the website at the top up there. Great place to look at MLA, APA. They go through, they give you great examples. They show you how to do headings, how to do the citations, how do you do your reference sections like right here. Where do you italicize? Where do you not? I know there's a lot of great software out there that does this for you. Some of it doesn't do it quite right. That's why I'm a believer, is that even if you use the software, go to AL, make sure you know how to do this, and double check it. Last thing I want to talk about is your headings. Here's the case. You cannot have the third level heading without doing the first level. You have 5 levels of heading according to APA. You see the level 1 is centered, boldface, uppercase, lowercase heading. Level 2 is left aligned, boldface, upperface, lowercase heading. So what that says is that you use level 1 first. Then you go to level 2, then you go to level 3. No, you cannot start with level 3. You've got to start with level 1. Sounds like common sense, but I see people make the mistake all the time. Once again, go to AL. They'll show you how all these things work on the headings. And guess what, folks? That's it. Hope you learned something. course, go back, take a look at this. Like I said, get rid of the volume, just go through and look at some of these slides. And if you got any questions, as always, you know I'm here to answer those questions. Just send me email and I'll be glad to talk to you more about it in detail. Have a great day now.